Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Dr. B Show. I interview the great Adriana Tortajada Narvaez. She's fantastic. We met in Chicago at the Angeles Investor Summit, and she tells me a great story about how she's the CEO of her organization, and prior to that, everything she's done for the community. It's a fantastic interview. It's great for those that are fans of VCs and all that. So I think you enjoy it. Enjoy it. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Dr. B Show. I'm your host, Dr. B, wearing my New York Mets t-shirt during the holiday season. I'm here with the great Adriana Tortajada, right? Did I say that correctly?
Yeah.
Oh, I said that correctly. Perfect. Good, Adriana. We met at the Angeles Investors Third Quarter Summit. Shout out to David and Adela and all those folks. So shout out to all you guys in advance.
All of you. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Good. Yes. So let's jump right into it. So tell everyone about yourself.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you for making the time in this season of the year.
Yes,
so I'm delighted to join to the long list of, great people that you interview. And a little bit about me. I'm originally from Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico. And I moved recently to US to really manage my new endeavor. I become VCpreneur after being quite a pioneer, launching the VC industry in Mexico without knowing that I was doing it. It's important, Dr. B, to tell that to the audience. And actually, after 20 years, I realized that was really important to really create a different kind of LP, right? Wearing the hat of GP. So managing, resources of different kind of potential investors to really channel that and create a large bridge between North America and Latin America. And that's the reason why we create 1200 BC. But a little bit about me. And I'm so curious. I'm the youngest of my family, the only, girl. So I grew up among guys, and I never realized I was the only female in the room because that was the story of my life, right? So I become really passionate about finance world, working for the development banks, the traditional banks, work for different, public agencies. And also to become an entrepreneur inside the federal government or the local governments, and then move to the banks. I always been this kind of girl that I like to create things and change the status quo. And it was amazing, how far you can go if you really have that clarity in your purpose of life. So I define myself like a natural born venture capitalist because I like to connect people. I like to say the way how everyone and each other can grow faster and together and scale it up. So that's a little bit of my story. I'm wearing a lot of hats. I've been, a public policy maker. I've been a, traditional bank girl in the branches. I've been, promoting this industry, creative funds, a fund of funds, a direct funds, managing the first deep tech fund in Mexico. Imagine in 2003. So it was not an attribute of our brand ever. When you think about our country, you think about beach, tequila, mariachi, sombreros, friendly people, but not about, innovation and technology and deep tech at all. So it was so challenging to really create an ecosystem around an emerging industry, right? So I started to collaborate a lot and to look who are the best ones to really manage and play different roles for the ecosystem. So I become a natural connector. And that I think is why I choose this purpose in life to be a connector and a venture capitalist. And then after I graduated, I did my master's degree in economic development and sustainability. And I keep connecting, the public and the private sector in the academia and the different actors and the non-governments and blah, blah, blah. So it took me a long way after managing in different agencies, public, private. I ended up managing the global, direction of business unit inside Santander University. It's one of the largest banks in Europe. And after, doing all over again in 15 different geographies, what I learned, Dr. B, is like, independently of if you are in an underdeveloped economy or developed economy, the challenge is to really start up a business, a thing, a fund, or any new, you require three main things, access to talent and how to retain it. Of course, access to market, and financing. So I said, why don't we do it, larger, bigger? And the opportunity knocked at my door. One of the most promising family offices, Mexican-American, was founding a partner to launch a new investment platform. And that's how my story, gives a huge turn and start to move into Europe. I moved to San Diego, California to launch 200 BC that we can talk later, a little bit later about what it
Wow,
is.
I love it. You gave me like the whole life story, but it's great
Yeah.
though. You had to give me a background of everything, right? So I love it. I love it. It's amazing, amazing work you've done already up to this point, and we're gonna take a deeper dive, and I'm excited about that. So before we take a deeper dive, I'm very big on education, as you know, with my background. So you went to the University of Guadalajara, right, for undergrad, Instituto
Yes.
Universitario Ortega.
You
I
guess
guess
it.
it. Yes, for your master's. I'm sorry.
For my master degree, no,
Your
I
master's
can
degree.
help you.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then you went to UCal Berkeley, right? You took a course in open
Correct. Open
innovation.
innovation and corporate entrepreneurship. That was my, postgraduate
Right.
specialization.
And
And
then
then
you was part
you
of
really,
Kaufman Fellows program, right?
exactly. Class 16, shout out to all the common fellows.
That's right. So, long story short, how did all those experiences help you in what you're doing today?
No, it absolutely changed my life. I can tell you. Part of, scale it up like a professional, it's tied to your education. If I wouldn't, try to look for a scholarship, try to, change my status quo, go out of my, comfort zone, I never would have ended up being, in managing this opportunity in these international, quite diverse, and collaborative kind of teams. So definitely when I start, and I always, been quite a nerd, so I love to, just get the best out of myself. So I ended up being the second, best, and I graduated with honors and my bachelor, and then that's why I earned this, scholarship to start my specialization of this kind of project management. And then I went to Spain to study my master degree, and then I ended up coming back and going to Berkeley to get a more specialization. And every step of the way that I scaled up some things in my professional career, I figured out that I needed another tool, because two things: I was a girl and I was young. And no one, it was not easy that the people, take us seriously. So when you are facing these kind of challenges, and of course, when you are playing in an international field, also you have to have, another kind of tools to really navigate those worlds. So for me, these kind of, programs really opened the door to a different network and a different, talent, undiscovered self talents as well. So I think it was clear that every step of the way was, parallel, being more educated, having more tools, getting to these, open the networks, network building networks. And that's when I ended up in Kaufman Fellows program. I was feeling so insecure, believe me, like I was not natural, fully bilingual girl. I was living in Mexico, studying in different countries, but also was managing the first deep tech fund with federal resources, trying to co-invest with the private sector in Mexico. And I was joining a pretty, large, the most successful program for venture capitalists in US. And they were starting to become global, right? So I was the only one managing public resources. But then I thought that I was the only one applying. And I realized I was not the only one. It was different, people managing resources in Middle East, in Europe, in Japan, in Asia. So I figured out that the world was bigger than I thought. And all the challenges I was facing. Every time that I, pick a different program to become a better professional and more sophisticated professional, he ended up, showing me the path to take the next challenge in my professional career. So I was getting ready for what is coming next without knowing. So I think, honestly, if you are not preparing yourself for the next challenge, you will never be ready to really, scale it up, to really take the things to the maximum potential and become a better version of yourself and follow your purpose in life.
You
So for
remind me of
me, that
me.
was education.
No, I love it. You remind me of me. Like I went, master's and a doctorate, and then I went a couple of certifications, and then joined a mastermind. And thanks to that mastermind, my ecosystem got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and eventually was able to tap into my network. So you and I are very
Absolutely.
similar in that vein. So pretty cool.
Well, thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
no,
I'm
thank you.
honored. I'm honored to have a similar track record than you.
All good, all good. So I'm also big on volunteerism with my background, volunteering for like HISPA and Prospanica. So you've been a ambassador for We Invest Latinum, right? And
Correct.
independent IC member of Fondo de Capital para Emprendimientos Innovadores,
Yes.
FCEL. So how important is like volunteerism and giving back to you? Is it good for the soul? Obviously, yes, but how important is it overall to you?
I love that you asked that question. That question never been asked before. And
No,
I've
so
been in a lot of
that's why
interviews.
Dr. B is a unique show.
You are a unique show, so definitely. But I think we never talk about, how you play an important role in your ecosystem
Yeah.
and in a global ecosystem. So if you want to take the things to the maximum potential, you definitely need to become an active, member of your community and your society and your international network, right? So the volunteerism is key for me. That keeps the boots on the ground and that keeps me humble and honored to the people like to have me around for, sharing knowledge, sharing experiences, and of course, sharing scars and lessons learned, because that's the purpose in life, right? Nobody really, learns something in a different, feeds, but it's really important when you find that you are not the only one that are facing the same challenges. So I do a lot of pro bonus work, a lot, because I do believe in the power of the community and the collaboration. For me, since I studied, ecological economy and all this, the sustainability and development, I understood that instead of the monopoly game that the winner takes it all, you definitely need to seed collaboration to create another network. And you never know, how this turn around, how this eventually will become to you in a different, earns and a different lessons and with different people that will definitely open different doors for you. So I serve in a different IC, boards. I am an independent member. I collaborate with this woman investment network in Latin America, which are different, ambassadors in US, but also the major networks in Spain and Latin America as well. But these are the communities because those are the important topics. I am mentor in the Reasonable Institute for Social Impact, entrepreneurs. I work for corporates, I work for governments because no one is willing to give back enough of their times and bring another actors to the ecosystem. At the end, it is still a young ecosystem in Latin America. In Latin America, it's 22 countries. It's a very diverse and young, region. There's a lack of information, of data, of connectors. And if I can bridge, what is going on and the opportunities in North America, link it with Latin America and also with the Latinos in US, I think we have a huge purpose in life. And I believe that these, giving back pro bonos. I also work for foundations that promote entrepreneurship as well. So that is the Fundación Coppel, the entrepreneurship arm as well. So imagine if they care, I care more, So that's why I give a lot of my time. I know I sacrifice some of my family time sometimes, or my personal times, but honestly, I think life is too short. We have so much work to do. And I'm so passionate to give back a little bit of all the lessons I've learned. And I'm still learning, of course, through those, volunteerisms.
Nah, I'm so happy that you're able to give back and help others, like, stand on top of other shoulders and hopefully, give those folks the opportunity that, that you may not have early on in your career. So that's awesome. That's awesome to hear.
Thank you. Thank
Awesome.
you very much.
Good. We're gonna get into it in a minute. So you was also the head of VC, Mez, and Impact Investment at Fondo de Fondos, right? Which springboarded what you did at Santander Universidades as global head of entrepreneurship. You helped in three areas: talent development, client facilitation, and effective financing. Exactly what you spoke about earlier today. So can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, I wouldn't let me describe myself like a weirdo inside these circles because I never been part of any party, right? I always been a professional.
Right.
So the first time, and a nerd, as I already mentioned. So I earned this when I was ended up my bachelor in finance. I figured out that I was already working. I worked since I have 16 years. So I've been waiter. I've been a lot of things. Um, and when I was close to end my career and graduate, and I figured out that I needed to have these internship programs. So there was only one spot in the local government to work for the Economic Development Agency. And I said, well, I should apply. Of course, I earned it. And I can tell you, Dr. V, that is the moment that my life changed. That is exactly when I started to find that I visualize when I choose to study finance, I visualize myself like working in Wall Street, in the corner office and be the boss and the executive girl.
The big monitor, the big window.
Exactly. That was my,
Vision.
And at some point, when I started to do my internship in the local economic development agency in the state of Jalisco, I found that there was another, added value, not only, cost returns and, these cost efficiencies and impacts. And I was like, whoa, there's a different way to see the numbers. There's a different way to add value. And there's a huge financial returns here, but there's a lot of social and environmental impact here as well. Being the translator in these different, public, private, academic, all the different hats and roles that we have. And I figured out that if you really understand what is your role, independently about which, kind of participant you represent at that moment, because I think every one of us have wearing different hats. But at that moment, you play a particular role. So that's why I become an entrepreneur in the government, and I manage the first, fund of funds, the venture capital business unit inside the fund of funds, because I was working for the National Development Bank. So since this, my career started. I worked in the local government. I went to study, my master's degree and get back. I worked for the public policy, forest and inclusion and blah, blah, blah. And then for all the community of the Mexican, American successful entrepreneurs, I work for the Latino, the diasporas. I work, for the science and technology world. And when I face the moment that, okay, I create a lot, but nobody's putting money here in these innovations, not only the government and a few angel investors. And I said, well, but this needs to be more. There needs to be a different, platform. So I knock on the door of my friends and fund of funds. And I say, guys, why you're not investing in emerging managers and, VC funds? And it was early 2000. And say, because we don't believe in first-time fund managers. We don't do that. We're a development bank. We only do private equity, blah, 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 funds for this kind of, mathematics. And they were filling boxes, checking boxes, right? And I say, okay, what do you need to really create this business unit? And they say, you need to bring, the anchor investor and, of course, a co-manager, because we are not the experts on that field. I say, okay, I turn around and I create that. I convince the Ministry of Economy, this National Science and Technology, Council, that was the one that I was managing this early deep tech fund. And of course, the National Development Bank. And I say, guys, why we create a pro bono safety kearney consultancy? I know how to work in that. I know how to build my bosses, support this idea. We create a beauty contest. And that's how Mexico Ventures, the VC business unit, emerged in 2010. It took me a few years to do that. And then I was, in 2011, that was my field project at Kaufman Fellows Program. How to really create a venture capital industry in Mexico. That was my field project. And it was the origin and the genesis of the public policy of venture capital in Mexico. And that's actually what, different countries replicate or get some inspiration, let's put it that way, because you cannot do a copycat. Every ecosystem is different, but they get a lot of inspiration how, the National Development Bank really become a promoter with other agencies and with the private sector, always. We always manage 50% of federal resources and 50% of private resources. And how to play your role, how to become the facilitator, how to become, the one that is adding value and giving the visibility of the rest of the actors to play the roles. To everybody, was playing different. Some of the agencies were giving grants, some of the agencies were giving, capital, some of them giving debt. and connecting, professionalization programs. So we create offer and demand programs. And it was, believe me, one of the things that I'm more proud in my career, that I've seen how you can change the attributes of every brand if you work a lot in collaboration and connection, and everybody can play their role and everybody can become more sophisticated. And to really create a new economy based in knowledge and technology, but giving the visibility to the ones, the founders that are solving the biggest problems of our society with technology. So that becomes my purpose in life. But that was why I managed, Fondo de Fondos. I support, the Latam Impact Fund of Funds with different, corporations. We bring another, co-managers, firms from the US working with Latin America. And that's, I think a huge movement become in Latin America. You now can talk about, unicorns and funds, and you can talk about the private equity and venture capital associations in different countries that gather in every year in Miami. So now you can tell story that back 2 decades ago was like non-existent. So I'm so proud about that in my career. And that ended up to really, helping me to create the next chapter in life.
Want to raise capital for your deals without hitting dead ends? And Dealmaker had to easily raise unlimited capital for your deals. Business strategist and investor Dr. Hera Borja, that's me, unveils the proven strategies that successful deal makers use to secure funding, attract investors, and close deals with confidence. Whether you're a real estate investor, entrepreneur, or business owner, this book will teach you how to find and connect with the right investors, leverage networking, partnerships to access capital and secure funding opportunities, structure deals that make investors say yes, building lasting relationships that lead to more opportunities. If you're tired of struggling to fund your deals, this book will give you a clear, actionable roadmap to securing capital and growing your investments. The money's out there. Are you ready to get it? Grab your copy today and start making deals happen. Go to BorjaConsultingGroup.com. That's BorjaConsultingGroup.com for more information on launch date, launch party, and other events related to the book. Let's get it. Love it, which we're going to talk about now. So you went from entrepreneur, shaking cages, right? Making things happen, disruptor, and he was able to, be a pioneer in that. So I'm so happy that you did that. So that's awesome.
Thank you.
So all roads lead to what you're doing now, being CEO and managing partner at 1200 VC. Tell us about, how did that come about? So when did you say, I want to start this on my own? Like, tell us about that.
Yeah. I think it was a mix of momentum in life. After pandemia, I was, slowing down. My life was in a plane. I was managing this global business unit inside Santander Universities and trying to, put all the entrepreneurship ingredient in a large corporation that was actually the biggest, supporter of, higher education in the world. They manage different programs. They do a scholarship across more than 1,000 universities, agreements. And they were supporting a lot of education and, employability. And I was putting the E of entrepreneurship. I was the first, Latino global director. It was a good experiment. And managing 15 geographies, you can imagine, how challenging it is to, talk about how this, academia, entrepreneurship, link it with the angel investors, with the different business, corporation and the ecosystem was challenging. But that was, for me, really important to have all the different lessons learned, put it into this, new endeavor. And sorry, I got lost a little bit. Can you get me back in the question?
The question was, the beginning, the genesis of 1200 VC. How did that come about? So.
Can you edit that, please? Okay, my dog was like, thank you. No, and I bring it up because I was doing that after pandemia. I slowed it down, and all this pro bonos work that I normally do. And this pretty relevant family office knocked at my door with one of the 13 members. And he talked to me for many hours to say, I've been asking and doing my research. I want to launch an investment platform. to really capture the value in North America and Latin America. And every time that I, share this idea with somebody in the region, they say, well, but you should talk with Adriana. You should talk with Adriana and you should talk with Adriana. So definitely, I needed to talk to you. So when my partner, a founder, told me this idea, I thought, what's going on? Where you come from? Why do you have the same ideas that I have after 20 years in this industry? So it was surprisingly my soulmate in business, bringing this idea that, putting into action and asked me to join in this journey. And it took me like, okay, I was, starting to move all my family to Europe. And then I said like, okay, wait a little bit. My family is in Mexico. My roots are there in Latin America. My experience has been in America, like a continent, because I've been doing a lot of things cross-border. And I always, when you have these moments in your life of inspiration, like if I ever had the chance to do this, I will do X, Y, Z, right? I've been thinking about this with actually my other partner. And I called him and I said, do you remember that at some points we said if we had a chance to do it, more openly, without any restrictions, more business and market oriented to support, the managers that are really solving the problems in the society. And the technology hubs were not exclusively emerging anymore only in US. There was a huge movement starting to give visibility of a different hubs. So the talent doesn't have, nationality. So give it a platform to really give visibility to those talented founders that were solving the problems with technology. For me, was huge, momentum and say, okay, I'm in, and let's build it on the best and common practice of the industry. Let's build in, we built a company, with the highest, levels of corporate governance, manuals, procedures, systems, with a talented, diverse team, global team, young, different backgrounds. So we really built an investment firm that is capable to capture, the value to create this, cross-regional platform to invest not only in founders, also in fund managers, because you need to think in the other ones of the equation, right? The ones that are emerging with a huge idea that are capable to spend the most, time of their life, because there's not going to be like a startup. It's going to be like a long-term bet. If you become a venture capitalist is for long-term bets, right? So you need to have those passions, the lessons learned, and the right networks to really say, there's a huge gap that needs to be fulfilled with a new venture fund, because nobody is, financing these kind of founders. So you have some kind of a specialization, even in a business model, geography, region, sector, vertical, right? You have some kind of specialization. And I love the micro VCs that are emerging in the developed economy, or the largest one that are developing in underdeveloped economies. And those, are the ones that are having access and become a magnet for the most promising founders. Because now the founders really have, the talent and the tools to choose who they want to partner with, right? So they can choose. They don't not just participating and looking around that, okay, I will not take any money. No. They are looking for values, for the same perspective, for the same purpose in life, because they are going to become partners and they're going to share, their businesses with them. So for me, being this hybrid investment kind of investor, creating a platform that can be visibility of the opportunities that are going on in early stages, through funds, through specialized, to really give visibility to the most promising founders and walk them through at their scaling up phases. That's how 1200 emerged and 1200 now exists. And that's how I become a venture capital VCpreneur that I want to call myself.
Wow, I love it.
Yeah, that's
I love
the
it. It
story.
was almost like destiny, right? Like you was thinking about the same thing, and then opportunity came,
Yeah,
and
it
you said you jumped
was.
on it.
And that's why I think if I haven't done, all my educational programs, I haven't done all my different professional career, taking the next, challenge, and face a lot of really a lot of challenges. So that's why, I was ready to take this opportunity to become a partner, to become the CEO, to create a team, and to really, become right now the ambassador of these, female networks and connect with others, because I'm connecting from the experience, right? And I'm still open to learn more things, because now when you move to another geography, so I've been quite successful, let me put it that way, in the region, trying to promote the Mexican US Entrepreneurship Councils and trying to promote different platforms. Being a Kaufman Fellow has definitely opened a lot of doors, but again, starting the game. I become a new fund manager, as the fund one. I'm an emerging fund manager and emerging fund, but not the traditional, first-time fund manager, because I'm not. This is going to be my sixth vehicle, with similar characteristics. But I'm hard to, analyze for another potential LP to say, okay, you are a first-time fund. Yes, but I'm not a first-time fund manager. And I have all this network, I have all the lessons learned, all the systems. So we create like a, state-of-the-art investment vehicle.
Yeah.
And everyone is shocked, like, well, but you are like a, BlackRock in a small, transaction. And say, yes, we are, because we have all the lessons that we haven't done 5 times. And this is the 6th time, but this is the first time that we do with this partnership, and for all these reasons. And it's hard not to, be in one box, to be this, hyper realistic investors. But I do believe that's what, different kind of LPs need different kind of investment firms, because we are inviting and welcoming new investors in the venture capital industry. Traditionally, everyone in you are so expert in real estate. That's the first step to manage well, right? To manage a portfolio. So trying to allocate a small percentage of alternative assets, you require these kind of professionals that are so passionate, that are willing to stay for long term, and it's a bet of their life, to really, give visibility of the more promising technologies that will emerge and solve the problems of the world.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, that's what that's why I'm in the real estate space, right? Building that generational wealth, and really, get out of the cycle. But you're right, there's a lot of other opportunities or other alternative investments, such as all the stuff that you're talking about. So I love that.
And it's a pretty complementary, right? With diversification strategies.
Of course.
You're not going to allocate. Exactly. Yeah. And thank you for, having me today.
I love it.
We can definitely get more inspiration of your network.
Right. That's right.
Because it's a small portion that you can bet for long term, right? And at the end, if you have this hybrid investment model, you're not going to eat, money into fees. You're going to put more money into work, and a pretty, let's put it that way, sophisticated strategy with a pretty fair, are the same fees. Everybody say, no, double a fee. No. We are a fund, an investment platform. We have a lot of tools to give visibility what is going on in our network. We are data-driven, investment firm. So that's why we do bets in both sides of the equation, because you can have with 10 tickets, let's put it that way, 300 plus underlying portfolio companies that you can take a look and then pick your 15, winners. So your clear outliers of the outliers. So it's just a strategy. It's mathematical. It's the same way that you take decisions with maths. You do your numbers. You do your profile, your risk profile. So I think it's a pretty interesting way to optimize risk return with this kind of investment platform. If you have the tools, we have a data scientist fellow that works for MIT. And I've been working with all these kind of actors. So I know how to really connect with the most talented people to create the most, sophisticated tools to have information. At the end, it's all about, do your work, be disciplined, follow your process, and, be with the right connectors and in the right networks.
It sounds like exactly what I do in real estate. The due diligence, right? I feel like we're so connected, right? In that perspective. So we're winding down. So as the CEO, managing partner, what are some of the challenges? Is it managing the relationships in the public-private sector? Is it finding investors? Is it value prop of the firm itself? Tell us a little bit. What are some of the challenges?
I think the major challenge managing a fund one, it's fundraising, right? Because you need to knock so many doors and to be open to also evangelize a little bit. And the ones that are not the low-hanging fruits, you cannot go to the traditional investors that that they have their own list and they have to follow a process, because I've been wearing those hats in the past, right? I've been an institutional investor as well. So, but nevertheless, you need to build relationship for the long term. So you have two works, just, figure out how to invite new investors to become a limited partners with you, but take the word limited partners to the next level. Create those partnerships through the open network, transparency, trust, tools, give a lot of visibility of what's going on, what are the trends, what you have of opportunities that are more linked to their profile, right? Because everybody has a core business. And then out of your wealth, you manage your investment portfolios, right? And you manage the risks. So you can also need to be aware of what are the preferences of these LPs and say, guys, but in technology, every industry will be disruptive somehow, eventually, for technology. So you need to be aware what's going on and how those paths maybe will cross. So for me, you need to have very passion, and also resilience, because you will get a lot of no's. And for me, I think the most value that I bring to the team is say, okay, it's no now, no when, no never. What do you need, right? Try to be open and listen. What is the people looking for? Because everybody wants to have some exposure to technology. Technology is sexy, but it's risky. So, okay, you need to talk more how you are managing and the risking. One of the most successful, asset classes, but more risky. So that's I think the balance to really become a successful venture capitalist. And being a CEO, I have a tremendous managed team. We work virtual. We use a lot of technologies. The half is in Mexico, the half is in US. And also we have two coasts covered. And of course, a little bit, sometime in Europe. So one of our junior partners is, mixing their times between Europe and Mexico connected with us. So for me, it's really important to, give the flexibility to everyone can work. And we are also so workaholics, so I don't have any challenge with my team, but to give also this balance in their life, and because we need to continue. When you mix, also ages, different backgrounds and nationalities, you need to be really creative in how you manage that diversity and inclusion in your teams. But that, I think, is the secret of success, because this will be for long term. So I think fundraising and managing these diverse teams, one of the most, hard challenges that I manage every day, and I try to prepare for every day.
And you sound like me. Like one of the biggest challenges is finding money, finding deals. So
exactly. But for me, deals is not a problem.
Not a problem.
Again, yeah, it's not a problem actually. As soon as you're starting to create your brand,
Sure,
right?
sure. People come to you.
Yeah. The thing is, you have a great, deal source and opportunities, but you need to, fundraise faster. And it has been a slow momentum of the market for geopoliticals, elections and different challenges. But I think, honestly, 2025 is going to be a very good year for the ones that are going to be, for the people like us.
I agree. We're winding down, so I have one last question before you give us your contact information. So what advice would you give an entrepreneur looking to raise capital for their business in today's day and age?
I think one of the most important thing is you must do your due diligence. And who are you talking with? And what do you need? Because sometimes in your early gains, maybe you don't need money. You need connections. You need someone that gives some validation, give the opportunity to create an, partnership or a proof of concept, or, or some talented that you have not the full, resources to acquire that talent. So you can, create like these partnership roles, these kind of advisory roles. So you need to be sure, what do you need at that moment that you're looking for? You're knocking the one door. You're looking for talent, for connections, for experiences, for proof of concept, for first opportunities, and then of course money. But I think sometimes entrepreneurs, things and the money first. And I said, you need to create like a pretty strong business proposal, a strong solution for a real problem. And then money will come. But if you need to have that strong, validated with some proof of concept, with some advisors, everyone is willing to give a hand. If you ask, properly, and it's something that they normally do. For example, Dr. B definitely will help you in real estate. I know. And then he will become a venture capitalist soon, eventually, with us.
Exactly. That's the plan.
So, exactly.
Diversification, right?
Diversification. And he's going to become, one of the LPs at 500. Put it that way. You create this, partnership, this relationship. You need to work on that and be really clear. What do you need at that moment? Don't forget to think about the other resources that you will need. Yes, money is one of them, but definitely you will need networks, advisory, connectors, market, talent, and then, of course, financing. But definitely that for me will be one of the lessons that I learned when I was an entrepreneur and now being a busypreneur. For me, sometimes I sit down with people and say, hey, you just need a coffee and pick your brain. And that definitely, I always get out of those meetings with a great connection that I was not expecting.
Right.
And just be open.
I love it. Where can people find information about you and your organization?
You can find us at, our webpage. It's 1200.bc. You will find everything about us, how to contact us, our, emails, our network, social media, and also LinkedIn. We are 1200BC with numbers and with letters.
I love it.
1200.bc, 1200.bc.
I love it. Adriana Tortajada, right? Is that how I said it right? I always think there's like an L or extra letter.
No, you did it perfect.
Perfect. Thank you.
If I just may add that the origin of our name, now that we're going to face the New Year's Eve, 1200 BC, it's all about time. When your clock turns to the 1200 hours, a new start and new beginning. So we are so close to celebrate that. But that's the genesis of 1200 BC.
Oh, I love that. That's pretty cool. I would have thought about that. Adriana.
So now you know, and it's a perfect moment of the year to tell.
Exactly.
To share the knowledge.
Adriana Tortajada, everybody. Thank you so much. Thanks for being on my show.
Thank you, Dr. B, for having me.
Thank you.
It's an honor.
Take care. Bye-bye. I hope you enjoyed that episode with Dr. Monica Chavez. I was also on her show as well. Please check her out for more information. And speaking of more information, as you guys know, I'm writing my second book, standalone book, Deal Maker, How to Easily Raise Unlimited Capital for Your Deals. For more information on that, on the release date and launch party and events, go to BorjaConsultingGroup.com. That's BorjaConsultingGroup.com.